Hi, I'm going to show you how to use the Powis Studio binding system. This system was designed for binding papers such as glossy coated paper that are normally difficult to bind using thermal adhesive binding. Starts with the binding strip, which will be put into either a Fastback 8X or a Fastback 9 binder. You probably can't see on the video, but there's a thin stripe between the two sections of adhesive on this strip. I find that bending it backwards sometimes before bending it in the correct direction helps define that edge a little better. You bend the strip into an L formation like this, and it's going to lay in the binder in this direction, with the long edge on the bottom and the short edge on the back edge of the platen. Here we have our book contents, and we'll be placing an end leaf or end paper on the back like so. This is a solid sheet with no window. And on the front, another end paper that has a window that will appear through the cutout in the book cover. Now be very careful when you put the front end paper on, especially, that you have your folded edge against the binding edge and the shorter section on top. There's a little more, the window's optically centered, so it's a little high. So this area should be shorter than this section. Tap the book down, make sure it's well jogged, place it on top of the strip, and smooth it against the edge, and press the green button. Normally when you're binding, you would want to use the LX comp setting simply because it's the shortest of the binding times. For this system, you don't require the longer binding times that are required if you're using the strip to actually bind the book. In this case, we're not using the strip to bind the book, we're simply using it to tack everything together before we actually stick it. Now, the machine will say remove book when it's done. Take it out and place it in the cooling rack. Generally, give it about a minute in the cooling rack to cool down. Right now it's somewhat hot. Once it's cooled, you can begin to stitch it. The next step in the process is the Powis stitcher, which is going to staple the book along the edge. You'll see the stapler, the stitching table, which has these little cutouts here that will act as guides for where to place your staples. You'll be stapling using this foot pedal here on the ground. You butt the book up against the stitching table in the back and lining up with the first cutout. Press with the foot pedal, put the first staple in, move to the next position, staple again, and then continue across the edge, making sure that the book is butting up against the back edge each time you staple. Now it's stapled and ready to put into the hardcover. Okay. Now for the next part, we will be putting the book block that we created inside the cover. We'll be using the Fastback hardcovers with windows. These covers come with adhesive panels on the inside. Before we do that though, this is purely optional, but if you want, you can add what are called headbands to the top and the bottom of the book. We sell the headband material in long strips, and you just cut it out and stick it on. It's strictly decorative, but some people find that it gives you an end result that seems more like a book. The preferred method of assembling a book is to assemble it with the window clamped in position, because this tends to give you more consistent results. So you put your cover on the hardcover guide and slide it under the green guide so that it butts up against this back stop here, and pull that lever down to clamp it into place. Now we'll peel off the narrow release paper, and this is sticky here, and it will be used to tack the contents into place. The book block butts up against the green guides, which automatically centers it on 3 sides. Once you're sure it's in the right position, you press it down to hold it into place, and peel off the rest of the release paper. Once that's tacked down, peel off the release paper on the other side and bring the cover up so that it butts up against the purple guides, which will line up the front and back cover. Once that's lined up, push straight down, release the clamp, pull the book out, and just make sure everything is smoothed down. And there's your finished book. And now you see how the little headbands just make the book look more like a real book. And that's how you use the Studio Binding System to make a photo book.